On today's episode of All Roads Lead To with Al and Jayné, we talk about some of the lessons that we've learned and some of the people that we have lost in the year 2020. So many who began the year with us are not ending the year with us, but they have made such an impact on our lives, and we want to remember them not only today, but over the next couple of conversations.
Yes, and many of them have come from the world of sports. So stay with us as we discuss the lessons learned from 2020. Tell a friend about All Roads Lead To with Al and Jayné.
This is All Roads Lead To with Al and Jayné,
the place where we share and talk about the people, places, and passions
that have impacted us on the road of life. Hello, I'm Al.
Hi, I'm Jayné.
And thank you so much for joining us today for another episode of All Roads Lead To with Al and Jayné. Here we are as we are taping this episode. It is the end of the great year 2020.
Yeah. The memorable year.
Unforgettable.
Yeah, unforgettable. That's a good word.
And really unprecedented.
Yes, I think that's a word that came up. We have a neat tradition that you really helped us start of sending out holiday cards every year. And you've been great of accumulating pictures or having family photo shoots and taking our holiday cards, kind of capturing that moment and sending it to our family. And that's always been a joy of mine during this time of year. It's always memorable in the sense that when the children were younger, it was a matter of trying to get them to smile on cue, trying to be sure everyone could, be changed and cleaned and ready for the picture. And so it was, it could be a lot of work.
Yeah, Janae's always been great about making sure if we're going to coordinate, our outfits are coordinated, and she does a great job with that.
I did enjoy that. And so now the children are older and it's more of just kind of a side eye, like, oh, this again, when is it going to be over? And so, but when we look back at them, they've been so much fun. And sometimes we've just decided, we're not going to do the photo shoot. We'll just have a collage of pictures that show, some of the things that we've done, some of the, accomplishments that we've had, particularly with our kids, whether it was sports or activities throughout the year, and just kind of give a glimpse of our year. But this year we did do a photo shoot. It was fun. I enjoyed it. It was kind of more of a casual look. So I still like the coordinating, but kind of do a little more casual this year so that everyone is a little bit more inclined.
Again, a tribute to Mickey and Minnie Mouse.
Yay!
So, what we did. Yeah, it was great.
PJ kind of thing.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I thought was really neat is that we had all these different options for the form and the style of the card. And it took us kind of out of the box this year, which I thought was really fun. And one of the things that we end up really kind of using the word unprecedented.
Yes.
And these are unprecedented times.
I mean, for real, that 2020, who would have imagined at the beginning of 2020 some of the things that we now know? One of the things is we use the word pandemic. I mean, how many times have we used the word pandemic before 2020? Right. I know I really had not used the word myself. And so now we know what a pandemic is.
It's true, because we've experienced viruses and, outbreaks. But this is on a level that we've never witnessed.
It's gone global.
And the shutdown, the mask wearing, the term quarantine being applied, so broadly. This is just, it's just unreal.
Well, going back to what you just said, I thought about it. I was mentioning to somebody else the other day that if I, as just about a 6 foot tall black man last year, had walked into any place with a mask on,
right,
I would have been looked at very suspiciously.
Absolutely.
But now it's just commonplace. You are actually looked at suspiciously if you go into a place and do not have a mask on.
And that is just so amazing how the tables have turned and how quickly this has all happened. And I think there's definitely, there's some pushback and resistance for different parts of this, but I just think the things that we've assumed and kind of have become commonplace or more familiar, how that has changed in this year has just really, really been, it's just been baffling. I think the other thing that I'm sensing now as we're coming towards the close of the year is just, 2020 itself, the year itself has just seemed to really be desire to just kind of, let's just, get it over with. Let's move on. And when we do, we can kind of get back to new normal. Like new normal is on the other side of 2020. And I think maybe it's just because I don't want to, get my hopes up, but I just feel like in a sense that this is a new normal. And a lot of the things that we're experiencing will continue in different forms. And I just don't know that ending 2020 is going to be the answer. So I think I really try to find beauty for ashes along the way, so that I'm not looking for a date or for a time for something to kind of transform, but that I can really try to do that daily. And that really has been something that I've tried to challenge myself to do throughout this year.
And I've tried to think of 2020, what have I learned? What have I gained from 2020? And one of the things that I personally have gained is really something that I really have been wanting for the longest time, which was just an adjustment to my schedule, at least, and our family schedule.
Yes.
We're family. We rip and run here and there all the time. But 2020, because of the conditions with the pandemic, it kind of forced us all to slow down. And one of the memories that we have on our card this year are a couple of things that we were able to do because of being in quote unquote quarantine. So one of the things we were able to do was have Uno games.
You were calling them Uno Wars.
Uno Wars. Uno Wars.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uno Wars. I mean, I love my family. I love my wife. I love my children. But those things, sometimes they got down to be straight up war.
They start getting very intense. You are the preeminent winner of our family games. Almost no matter what it is, you generally win. So
all
we're
I do
all
is
trying
win.
We all kind of try to take you out. But this was also the thing of old school versus new school, because the kids kept introducing new rules and options, and it was like,
maybe we should have an episode about new school rules versus old school rules in games, because this thing got pretty serious after a while. But that's one of the things we did, and it ended up being fun, and we played sometimes multiple times throughout the day, and one more game.
Right. Trying to get that win. Yeah. And I really enjoyed our family times. I think we've been able to revive family dinners in a way. We've often been moving kind of ships in the night sometimes, and just being able to everyone come together, everyone pitching in, and that's been really fun. And I baked my own birthday cake this year.
Excellent.
That was fun. So we've been baking some treats and doing some things just to, I think that those types of things really have been a part of the joys that have come out of this. And I think it helped us, at least it's helped me, to just really focus on what's most important. Yeah. And it's been great to have the opportunity to do that. There's been so much that's changed for me. I think there's a lot that I'm looking forward to for progress and for growth, but the connections and really taking time out for those who matter most has been something that I've really been thankful for.
I mean, through it all, I would have never wanted or prayed for a pandemic at all, but through it all, I have truly enjoyed every day and every moment that we have shared together. This year, it's forced us to be in the same space, and sometimes everybody has kind of wanted their own space at certain times. But I would not trade a day of what we have been able to experience together. Again, would not want a pandemic or any disaster or anything to happen to cause that. But we've been able to kind of make lemonade out of the lemons that have been given to us.
Absolutely. And I think part of what has caused us to focus on that is the fragility of life. I think we've really been confronted with just how fragile life is, and really trying to make each moment count, because we've experienced loss this year.
We have experienced some loss. So along with lessons learned, we have also experienced some loss. We're going to take a break right now, but when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the people who we've lost this year that have impacted us along the road of life.
Hi, I'm Jalen, and I am the creative director for All Roads Lead To Media. And I'm here to let you know that you can listen to All Roads Lead To with Al and Jayné on Amazon Music by saying, Alexa, play All Roads Lead To podcast.
Thanks for hanging with us on All Roads Lead To with Al and Jayné, the place where we talk about the people, the places, and the things that have impacted us along the road of life. As we said right before the break, we've talked about so many things that we've learned in this year of 2020, but there have been so many people who started the journey with us, who are not ending the journey with us. And over today and over the next couple of conversations we're going to talk about them and their impact on us along the road of life. And today we're starting off in the field of athletics.
Yes. This has been quite a year, and it's just something to, I think you sometimes take for granted that people who you've grown up watching or you've enjoyed, you don't know them personally, but
Right.
knowing that their light is shining, there's just, that they're in the world and they're still giving good. There's just something that's just endearing about that. And there's
Yes.
been such a void, I think, this year when you've seen from so many different places, these lights that have gone out, and we've experienced it personally in our family, but definitely in the world of sports, there have been lights that are, that are no longer shining. And I think the start of the year off.
Started the year off January 2020.
Yeah.
I'll never forget where I was and when I found out about the death of Kobe Bryant.
Yes.
And that was just unbelievable. I mean,
Yes.
absolutely unbelievable for so many people and for so many reasons. And as we've talked to people and have kind of shared with different people our feelings, our emotions about that time, I have really thought back, and that is really one of the things that set the tone for 2020. That was really, the rug was taken out from underneath us. That was just totally, you could not see that coming for anything.
Absolutely. Just stunned. And I think it's so true. You kept wanting this to be some kind of hoax. Like you just couldn't believe, like, no, I'm not reading this right. This is not right. And it just, like, I couldn't get my mind around it. And I mean, I think those types of those are just cruel and unusual to begin with, but you just, that, and not being real just was where you wanted to stay. You just could not get your mind around this actually being real. And I think just the nature of the helicopter accident, the families that were on his daughter, it was just unreal. And I remember tears flowing and just like gasping, like when it finally like hit me, like this is true.
Yeah, I remember. I don't know if you remember. I could not watch TV coverage about it. It was just something that I just could not do. I couldn't bring myself to do for the least 2 or 3 days. Following it, because you just, first of all, like you said, can this be for real? Then it just kept, the news just kept getting more and more impactful. The more you heard about his daughter, Gianna, than the other people that were there.
It was an unfolding story in that respect, because you just hear about him, and then there's, the news about Gianna, and then that there were other families and people, connected to, and I think that was so gripping for me too, was one of the things that I really grew to really respect and appreciate about him, and it really been looking at it more recently, was just his work with girls athletics and with his daughter. And so I just felt that I was so impressed with the growth and how he continued to stretch himself after basketball. And I think, that has to be such a challenge when you are in the spotlight. He was LA sports. And so, Kobe being right, and it's just, and to be able to make that transition and to pour into his family and to really, he really became like just such an exemplary example of, a girl dad. We talk about that. I think often, guys are, wanting to have the son to pass on their name and everyone's excited about a healthy baby. But there's always, I think that draw for, especially, I think when you're in a profession or you're in athletics and you want to have like, your namesake, that chip off the old block. And yet he really embodied that your daughters can be that person, that is, he was like, I would have more girls, and I think girl dad was something that he really, I think gave honor to. And I thought that was just so beautiful. And I think it was an extension also of supporting women's athletics and women's basketball. And Lisa Leslie's description of him and the support, and their, connection just shows that he really was a supporter of good players, male or female, across the board. And I thought that was just really one of the many, parts of his legacy.
And one of the things I also took from his life is that we all make our own choices in life. We all kind of have our own lanes and avenues that we can choose in life. But when good people are pouring into you, there can be good results. I will never forget the interview we watched with Jerry West. And how he loved Kobe and how he poured into Kobe. Literally was a son to him. Yeah. And I believe what we saw towards what ended up being the tail end of Kobe's life was as a result of what Jerry West modeled for him, poured into him, invested in him. Wow. And remember, Jerry West was with the Lakers at the time when Kobe was drafted, but he wasn't with the Lakers towards the end. And that we all need people in our life, regardless of where the lanes may shift.
That's right.
Who will pour into us. And Jerry West was that type of a person for Kobe Bryant.
And you've talked about Jerry West, his West Virginia roots and just being such a solid person. Yes. And when you look at that, we saw those interviews and I just appreciate it, and I think it's loyalty, and someone who sees something in you and is there with you through the ups and downs. It's one of the things that we recognize is that he was with Kobe through everything. And I remember one of the commentators even tried to just, kind of detract the conversation into some of Kobe's low moments. Yeah. And, he was not going there. And
not at all.
It was such like
not at all.
It was like a family, this is where I'm here.
He drew a line in the sand and said, this line will not be crossed.
That's right. And it was just so impressive. And I think what he really represented was just the understanding of a full person, and that it just seemed like he really wanted to honor what he knew of Kobe. And that when we're looking back at his life, we're going to honor him for the good that he gave and for, what he was able to overcome. And as you're saying, I think what he was able to pour into as a family man. And he really kind of identified him as that. And, he talks about the time, I think we helped him to learn to drive and just different things that just show like the humanity of him. Because I think it's so easy for us to kind of point fingers or say what we would or wouldn't do. But I think it was just so ennobling to really see that he saw him as a growing person. Yes. And I think that's something that I really walk away with from his legacy, is that, the growth and the places that he ended up after basketball. But his basketball career is, that is so impressive.
Yeah, 81 point game. I'll never forget that versus Toronto. Yeah. His final game.
Yes.
Where he put up 60.
Put him up.
And that was just amazing. So great athlete.
Yeah. Leader.
Great leader. Yeah. Great trendsetter. A great trailblazer in many ways. And one thing I really want to mention this. A lesson learned, and we're talking about people who've impacted us, is really taking advantage of the opportunities that you have when you have them. One of the things that really impacted me was looking at the comments of Shaquille O'Neal, Shaq, after the loss of Kobe. It's kind of like looking back and seeing what could have been. And kind of, I believe he talked about it.
They were dynamic together.
They were dynamic together, but had not really talked to each other individually in a while. And so certain things can only happen at a certain time.
Right.
And so that's one of the lessons that we learn from those that we've lost in 2020.
But in that, they did reconcile. Yeah. Prior to his passing, which I think is really I think is great to see, in the sense that there seemed to be a desire to kind of, mend those fences. And I think one of the things that I've come away with Kobe too is just that work ethic. Yeah. I mean, and I feel like he just had a hunger for the game. I mean, you look at some of the comments that Michael Jordan said of him, really just trying to learn from him. I just feel like he was a student of the game. Yes. And I've seen some of the video lessons that he was doing, and just the reps and the sequencing and all that he really put into teaching the game, as well as what he grasped and took in as a student of the game. And as impressive as he was, and as much natural gifting as he had, how much work he put into the game. I was just a renewed respect for that. Yeah. And so that was just an unbelievable loss.
Unbelievable loss. Unbelievable loss. It kind of, again, it was a tone setter for the year of what was unexpected, of what was just kind of earth-shattering. Another loss, as we talk about athletics in the category of basketball, John Robert Thompson Jr., Coach Thompson, who's known most legendarily for being the coach of the Georgetown Hoyas in the 80s and even in through the 90s. But Coach Thompson really had an impact on our lives. I never had the opportunity to meet him, but our family growing up was living in the Maryland area. So during the 80s, Georgetown Hoyas, I mean, quite honestly, they were better than the Bullets, the NBA team.
Yeah, they were DC basketball.
They were DC basketball. But Coach John Robert Thompson Jr. Was more than just a basketball coach. And we can talk about the championships that he won, being the first African-American coach, first black coach to win NCAA basketball championship. Not the first that was qualified, not the first who could have ever done it, but the first who actually succeeded that barrier. But Coach John Thompson grew up in Washington, D.C.
Yes.
Coach John Thompson was a product of Southeast.
All right.
I mean, he knew. I mean, if you're from D.C., you know what Benning Road is. If you're from D.C., you know what Georgia Avenue is. If you're from D.C., you know what Anacostia is. If you're from D.C., you know what the shrimp boat is. And Coach Thompson really reminds me of my great uncle, Bailey, Bailey Freeman Jr. They are, that same DC type of tough and got that same DC persona. But Coach Thompson, one of the things that really stuck out to me, one of the reasons why he was impactful for me, Coach Thompson was an image of unforgettable and undeniable blackness in the age of Reaganism in the 80s.
Okay.
I mean, he stood so tall. Number one, he was tall. I mean, he was a tall man. I mean, we all remember him for the towel.
That's what I'm saying. That towel, the white towel over the shoulder. Yeah.
But he was just an image of unforgettable black manhood. As Malcolm as was said about Malcolm X, our living black manhood. R.C. Davis said in his eulogy for Malcolm X, he was our manhood, our living black manhood. That's what John Thompson was. And that's what he stood out. That's one of the things that stood out for me, even as a young guy. And looking back, I mean, in the era of Reaganism and the era of kind of dog whistles, you weren't going to get a dog whistle past John Thompson. And he was going to say it and tell it straight.
I mean, it's so interesting. We grew up in the DC, the DMV area at the same time, not knowing each other. And so I have similar memories. Hoyas basketball is still, I'm still, who's your basketball team? Hoyas for me, college basketball. That's where it is. And it was so amazing too, because it was Georgetown. It was, this preeminent college.
Catholic institution.
Right. Where you were bringing in these young black men. And he's, to me, really wanted not only for them to be successful on basketball, I feel like he wanted them to be successful at life.
Absolutely. And
I just think that was so impressive for them to, get the education. Also, I feel like he helped to build, and follow them throughout their lives. And so I feel like when you see Pat Ewing, when you see Alonzo Mourning, when you see the Kimbe in the NBA, to me, they were still John Thompson's guys. Like, I was still rooting for them to get a chip because they were a part of his legacy. And I feel like he poured into them. And, to me, one of the best examples of that was AI. Allen Iverson had ups and downs. He was constantly battling in some, respects, the things that were pulling him away from him being his best. But he saw something in him, and I just thought it was so amazing for him being, really not, he didn't have the stature. He didn't necessarily have the bulk that you would say, oh, this is going to be my, this is going to be my guard. But he saw something in Allen that we all ended up seeing, that he just was an amazing athlete that was so fleet-footed and just had, just a great eye. And so it was just really heartwarming to see the father figure in John Thompson, and how I feel like he stayed with those players. And David Falk, who's, the preeminent agent who became Michael Jordan's agent, was first Pat Ewing's agent and first worked with John Thompson. And I was, looking at something recently where he, had said in tribute to him that outside of his mother, the person who influenced him the most was John Thompson. And so I agree with you. I think that he represented so much in that Big East basketball.
Big East.
And I remember seeing him pace back and forth. And as a parent now, it almost kind of resembles the fact where you pour into your players and you pour into your children, and you give them what you have. But then at some point they have to do it themselves. And so you could see him like almost wanting to go out there, and he would, you could just see him, almost wrestling with himself along the line. And sometimes he would come out of the box a little bit, and that kind of thing. But you just love the passion and the energy, and it just felt that he was there not only for the wins but for those guys. And so one of my favorite memories of Georgetown basketball is meeting Pat Ewing in a parking lot.
Really?
Yeah, my dad and I were in Georgetown. And you could see him kind of seeing us, looking at him and walking closer to him, and he was trying to get away. But to his credit, my dad was like, can you sign an autograph for my daughter? And so I was young enough where I think, kind of brought him in. I think he was trying to do his own thing. But I remember him signing on the back of a business card. And I kept that autograph in now this is kind of old school, cloth eyeglass case. And I would keep that business card with Pat Ewing's autograph. And so I always follow Pat, and as much as I love Michael Jordan and some of the other Eastern Conference teams, that John Starks, especially when Jordan was out that year and the Knicks were playing the Bulls, I was wanting Pat to get that chip for John Thompson as a part of his legacy, because Dean Smith's guys had gotten him, Coach K's guys had gotten him, but I wanted John Thompson's guys to get a chip because I felt that it just would honor his legacy as a just preeminent coach. And so that was a significant loss.
And so there have been so many other significant losses, and we're going to take a break right now, and we'll come back on the other side and continue to talk about the lessons that we've learned from people in the field of athletics in 2020.
Hi, I'm Jalen, and you are listening to All Roads Lead To with Alan Jayné.
So we are honoring and really remembering some of our sports favorites and some sports figures who we've lost this year in 2020. And staying with DC athletics, go, Ben's Chili Bowl, all things DC. We lost another DC great.
Yeah, in the person of Wesley Unseld, who was just the towering figure. Now, Kareem was 7'2", Shaq 7'3". Wes Unseld was 6'7", but literally at 6'7", which is no short height.
Right.
He was literally larger than life in DC as far as being just a force and a power. Again, another example of just living Black manhood. A force on the court. Wes Unseld was originally with the Baltimore Bullets, who eventually traveled up 95, right up the Baltimore-Washington Parkway, and ended up as the Washington Bullets. Visitors know the White House, but people from D.C. know certain landmarks. And, the Capitol Center was there in Landover, Maryland. And he, if Yankee Stadium was the house that Ruth built, the Capitol Center was really the house that Wes Unseld, Elvin Hayes, and the rest of the Bullets of that era really helped to build with owner Abe Poland there. But a figure on and off the court, he was the coach after he played and was just a blockbuster player. Led the Bullets to a championship. I remember my godfather, I believe they won, it was 77, 78. My godfather was there at the championship game and went to those games. I remember at home we had a record that commemorated the Bullets championship when they won the NBA championship. So that's one of the things that's in our collection somewhere with my parents' things. But Wes Unseld played, he coached, and was an executive with the team. And so we remember just the impact and the life and the legacy of Wes unsell. Also, when we talk about basketball, many times growing up, we saw, I know, the TV advertisements to come and see the Harlem Globetrotters.
Right.
To come and see us. We talked about the Capitol Center. That was one of the places where they would play.
Yes.
And among the Harlem Globetrotters, one of the major ones we lost was Curly Neal this year. Ball-headed guy who would always spin the ball on his finger. And I always remember, I don't know, it just might be me, but the Gilligan's Island movie that they did with the Harlem Globetrotters was one of the things that I'll always remember. Speaking of basketball as well, we also lost Coach Jerry Sloan this year, who was a major force, who was before he was the coach of the Utah Jazz.
Right.
And we know Utah, they lost back-to-back to the Bulls in the 90s on their way to their sixth. But Jerry Sloan was a Bull.
Right, that's right.
Jerry Sloan was a Bull.
That's right.
And was really a premier player for them as well. And when we think of NBA, especially that 1990s era, you would not have NBA basketball being what it is as the global success that it is and has been, and even the national success that it has been, without this man right here. David J. Stern.
Yes.
David Stern, the commissioner of the league for 30 years, beginning in 1984. But before that, David Stern was the lawyer for the NBA. And one of his claims to fame, one of the major things that he did was he was one of the people who worked out the details for the merger with the ABA and the NBA.
Okay.
David Stern was one of the guiding forces behind that.
Wow.
And so as a result of that, you have major TV contracts, major distributions deals.
Yeah.
And so the NBA, you don't have what the NBA had with first Bird and then Magic
and
then Jordan.
Right.
And then, we can name the names on without David Stern. And he was one of the first people to see that the NBA needed not just to be a national game, but a global game.
Beautiful point.
So we started sending NBA teams over to Africa and to Europe and to Asia, to different places, just kind of to grow the game. And as a result of that, I believe that's why you have an infusion of international players in the game today.
I think that's such an amazing point. And what I think of David Stern, too, I think, you're relating back to his legal training and his work as a lawyer for the league. I think it's the strategic vision that he had that I do think is grounded a lot in his legal background. Yeah. And I think that paired with, as you're saying, his understanding of marketability in the PR and the TV. And I think, you see a lot of the major players who I think really recognize his influence in helping their brand and helping them become more marketable, being able to, really expand their opportunities for wealth building and not just, as contracts and players, but also for the advertising and the branding, because with the TV contracts came an expansion really of marketing for players. So I think he, is just really a consummate commissioner and just really set, I think, I don't know if rubric's the right word, but really just in a model of, transcending influence as a commissioner.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Sure.
So many, much appreciation, I should say, and many salutes to Commissioner David J. Stern. Now, shifting gears a little bit, going from the court to the gridiron. Okay. This year we also lost a person in the name of Gale Sayers.
Right. Which was such that's a heartbreaking loss. I remember watching him with family because he was just considered I feel like there was a rooting for him as a man. Like he just seemed to be a consummate professional, just really classy. And I think he was one of my mom's early favorites.
Okay.
But yeah, just always remember positive energy going towards Gale Sayers. And I think we see that, and you really introduced me to the movie Brian Song.
That is where I was really introduced to Gale Sayers, was in the movie Brian Song. Gale Sayers was played by Billy D. Williams. Billy D. Williams. And then I actually went back and looked at his career based on true story of how Gale Sayers really stuck by his teammate Brian Piccolo when he was diagnosed with cancer, and kind of shows the evolution of their friendship, especially in the times back in the 60s that they were teammates for the Chicago Bears, by the way. And so Gale Sayers was a bad man on the football field, running back for the Chicago Bears at a time. I mean, we knew the Chicago Bears in the 80s when they won their one championship with Walter Payton, Refrigerator, Jim McMahon. We could name players on and on, but this is during a time when the Bears really weren't winning that much. But he was still just slicing and dicing people on the football field. And he set many records and did many feats in relatively a short career. But again, he brought so much impact to so many people. And one of the things, and this is kind of how people who have an impact on other people impact you. One of the people who he impacted was a person that I watch and we watch many times, Michael Wilbon, on PTI, who grew up in Chicago, really watching Gale Sayers. And so one of the lessons learned, I guess, from this is that you never know how the impact you have on other people will actually have a ripple effect on others. And so we remember Gale Sayers. Today, also in football, legendary coach Don Shula passed away in 2020. He led the Miami Dolphins to an undefeated season. Went undefeated. They played what is now known as the Washington football team. Back in '72, and
I think you're setting something up.
Didn't come full circle the way we wanted it to for the Washington football team. But one of the legends of the Washington football team, Bobby Mitchell, passed away this year as well. And Bobby Mitchell was the first black player on the Washington football team who still, despite it all, and he talks about some of the hard times that he went through, still supported the team and still maintained good relationships with those in the organization all throughout. So this year, during the 2020 season, you see on the Washington football team, you see the number 49 that all the players are wearing on their uniform. And that was Bobby Mitchell's number, and they're wearing that in honor and in tribute to him as well. And so as we shift from the gridiron, going to the baseball diamond this year, the city of St. Louis suffered 2 losses in the field of athletics, as we're talking about it today. Number one was a person I know that my dad and your dad, they watched growing up, and that is Bob Gibson.
The flamethrower.
The flamethrower.
Yeah, that hot.
And Bob Gibson was quite just the athlete. And he was also kind of a product of his era, and the things I've heard and listened to really in reflection of his passing really kind of let me know that he was kind of standoffish with the media. He was kind of very skeptical of the media and what would be said about him. And I think he had every reason.
Yeah, as a black pitcher, there was a lot. Yeah, that was a very, he was real trailblazing at that point. So there probably was understandably.
And so coming in the post, Jackie Robinson, Willie Mays is kind of on the tail end. I think Willie played till about 73. So from those years of 65 to 67 to 69 were really kind of hallmark years for Bob Gibson. But just an amazing, absolutely amazing player and quite a man as well. His teammate during that time, Lou Brock, as well. One of the people we remember who passed away this year, and someone who we used to listen to and watch all the time passed away this year, who was kind of like the voice of baseball for us for a while. Joe Morgan.
That was really hard to hear.
Yeah. And Joe Morgan, what I really appreciate about him is that he was kind of a historical bridge for the players of the past. And he always advocated for those who are the Negro Leagues. He always talked about not just the headline stories that we hear about Jackie Robinson, but the background about how really hard it was those early years for Jackie Robinson, those other pioneering players.
Such a great point.
Who came into the league. He always had that voice, and he just had such a sharp baseball mind. That was just, it was just intriguing to listen to.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you made that point, because I think that's one of the things that was so endearing to me about him. And as you described, I thought he was so great with the stats and with the understanding of the game. And I thought he would often give you great insight as to what players may be thinking on the field as a play was going to happen. And for me, baseball, I've grown to love, but I felt listening to him really helped me to better understand the game and have an appreciation where people are standing still or they're just looking, that there are things happening. Because a lot of times I think I'm used to sports that are in motion. And so a lot of times with baseball, you're kind of, waiting for the windup. You're waiting for this. And he would be great to me in helping to explain what was happening on the field, and that there is a lot more sometimes that meets the eye.
Yes.
And that you could understand the counts and you could see what, the strategy of baseball is. And I think that's what so many people who are really, like the old school kind of, writing down the stats, appreciate about baseball, but he helped me to understand that. So I think it's such a great point that it is the background, and I love the stories.
Yes.
And so it was the background and giving insight in his kind of first person account that really made
it so relatable.
Yes.
So relatable,
so
but
true.
Still was kind of a stickler for the rules of the game, for the tradition of the game, but really extended it.
And his love of the game really came through and drew you in. Absolutely. That's a great point.
Yes. So we remember Joe Morgan and all of these individuals that we've talked about today from the field of athletics, from the world of sports. Rayford Johnson, we remember, especially. We talked a little bit about him on All Roads Lead to L.A. Rayford Johnson was just kind of a man who kind of crossed many categories. Not only was he an Olympian, he was a champion for so many things. L.A. He was one of the people who helped, along with Eunice Kennedy Shriver, the Special Olympics, and really headed the Special Olympics in L.A. Rayford Johnson was also an actor, and he was actually recruited by Kirk Douglas, who was one of his friends, to actually play a part in the movie Spartacus.
Wow.
He was going to play a major role there, but he went there, and when he told the people who he was working with at the time in school that he was getting ready to play this role, they said, now, if you go play this role, you're no longer an amateur, you're a professional.
Okay.
So he didn't do it, but he ended up playing other major movie roles later. Also was recruited by his friend Rosie Greer to help along with the campaign of Robert F. Kennedy in 1968. And Rayford Johnson was one of the people who tackled Sirhan on June 4th, I should say, 1968, in the Ambassador Ballroom right after he was shot right off there in the kitchen. So Rayford Johnson was right there. And again, as we said before, he lit the cauldron at the 84 Olympic Games. And so we remember Rayford Johnson, world-class man today. And all these who have really been a part of impacting our lives, either directly or indirectly, they teach us and let us all know that no matter where you are, just make the most of every day, make the most of every moment, and you never know how something you do will have an impact and leave a legacy for those who are left behind. So as we get ready to wrap things up today, we want you again to please stay tuned. Let everybody know about All Roads Lead To with Al and Jayné. We have other shows coming up where we're going to remember those. Today we talked about those in the field of athletics and sports. We also have things we're going to remember about people who we lost in 2020, who were just high achievers as well, who were just great people, achieved so many great things, as well as so many other things.
Yeah, and also in the world of entertainment.
In the world of entertainment and the arts as well. So we have some great things on tap for you. By all means, stay tuned, tell a friend, and we'll see you the next time.
Thanks for joining. We are so glad to share our podcast with you. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and on social media.
So please listen, share, and tell a friend about All Roads Lead To with Al and Jayné, the place where we talk about the people, the places, and the passions that have impacted us along the road of life.